Yo, what? Okay, first of all, is that your first time? That was my first time seeing it. Is that your first time seeing that?
Surprise! No, it's not my first time. But doesn't my hair look good? It's never looked so good from the back.
That was awesome. Jenna, you are insane. That is so freaking cool. I feel like we need more of those types of. My jaw's on the floor. I did not expect that. That was really dope. I love it. Okay, everybody else, welcome to Unscripted Intelligence. Let's get to the script. This is a podcast where we talk about human intelligence, artificial intelligence, how they intersect and how they impact everything from education to the workforce. And apparently, we also make really cool intros as well.
Mm-hmm. On this podcast, we typically interview innovators, thought leaders, and change makers who are making waves and shaking things up. And these live conversations are uncharted and unfiltered, even though Arvin just referenced a script, which like totally blows our brand there.
It's my intro. I gotta write down the intro part. That's the only part that has to be consistent.
Totally. I just had to give you crap. Anyway, we create space for things that aren't being discussed. And always, these conversations are unavoidable.
Thank you guys so much for listening and welcome to this episode.
I'm Michelle Ament, the co-president of the Human Intelligence Movement and the chief academic officer for ProSolve. The Human Intelligence Movement is dedicated to ensuring that all of us humans have the uniquely human skills that we need to succeed and thrive and flourish in our AI world.
Yes, and my name is Arvin Ross, your other co-host. And I'm the immersive learning designer and facilitator for the Human Intelligence Movement, as well as the co-founder of ProSolve.
Yes. Well, happy summer. Can you believe it's July 9th already?
No, I feel like it's been forever. We maybe did an episode like a month ago. I feel like this whole year is breezing past. I feel like it was just February and now we're all the way in July.
Today I typed April 30th as a date and I was like, what? I was like, our meeting on April 30th, and I really meant July 30th. And so time is flying by, and this summer, we are going to do something different. You see a lot of podcasts or shows that run reruns or air past episodes. Not us. This summer, what we are going to do is really dive into the unavoidables, the topics that we want to revisit without any guests, just Arvin and I talking about the unavoidables. So tell us more about the unavoidables.
Yes. So for this whole series, as you guys know, at the end of each episode for the last, year, whenever we started the podcast, we have everybody share an unavoidable truth at the end of that episode. There have been several times where our guests share such profound wisdom and insight or content or whatever. And we're always left salivating saying, we need to make a whole episode or a whole series on just that one sentence or that one phrase or that one unavoidable truth that guest left us with. And so this is an opportunity, a time to take some of those things that were said and unpack them, dissect them, and then, just kind of journey with those thoughts, let them ruminate, let them marinate, let them, what's it called when you put a turkey in marinate. Let those thoughts marinate here live on camera and whatnot. So I want to add one thing that is super important for this summer series is it's not just Michelle and I. It is Michelle and I on camera, but we're really, really, really wanting this to be a community conversation. This is a chance for us to come together, to challenge the old rules, imagine new ideas and new things that are possible. We want to really center the idea of human intelligence in the intelligence age in this whole entire conversation. And so we want it to remain a conversation with the whole entire audience. So if you're watching right now, feel free to hop into the chat and share your name, share where you're streaming in from, and share anything specific or anything else you want to share about yourself in the chat. If you have an unavoidable moment you remember, feel free to toss it in there. We might bring it up in today's episode.
Love it. So we're already seeing guess who's here? Dr.
Mark. Yes, it is. Mark, you're the bomb. I love you. I miss you. I need to see you at some point. I wish I was at ISTE, dude.
Yeah.
I've got to block you on. Yeah, Mark, I'm going to block you on LinkedIn. I want you to know that. I had so much FOMO watching you at ISTE in the last couple. I am upset. I'm triggered.
Well, he did. He went to ISTE and represented the human intelligence movement, had a amazing session on how HI literacy is as important or is the new AI literacy. And so really talked about the human intelligence stack, the different intelligences that we need for our AI world. And I'm so proud to have Mark there representing the movement and just being able to create more awareness and being able to meet lots of people. And so it's fantastic. So Mark, thank you. Thank you. And I think that, I think we've got I think the episode can be streamed. And so I'm not sure if you can still get tickets to that or not.
I wish. I'm really glad to have Mark in here because I know he is going to pop off on this topic. So as we said, this is the beginning of a new series. It is all about the unavoidables. And so our goal is to talk about some of the unavoidables that we've uncovered in the last year or last couple of series. And one of the ones that I think was incredibly memorable that we did not have enough time to go deep on or to unpack was this idea, this concept of like the paradox of AI and HI, the paradox of human intelligence and artificial intelligence. And so this episode, we want to take some time to kind of unpack that, to journey with it, to dissect it. And not saying we won't do other conversations in this, but that's just what I want to start with. I want to start with, unpacking what that means. Yeah. So I see Lindsay is in here. Welcome. I want to start by giving a definition for what a paradox is. And then I want to ask you, Michelle, and every person in the chat to just kind of ruminate with this definition and see see how we can apply it to this concept of human intelligence and artificial intelligence. So a paradox is a statement or a situation that appears self-contradictory or absurd, but upon closer examination reveals a deeper truth. And it typically, actually, I'll stop it right there. A paradox is a statement or situation that appears to be self-contradictory or absurd, but upon closer examination reveals a deeper truth.
So what I'm trying to think about is what is a common paradox?
Yeah. A common paradox to me, and I guess I'll kind of take this outside of the context of AI and HI.
Yeah.
Is the idea of moving slow to get somewhere fast. The idea, and I haven't, again, this is just off the top of my head. So
I like that. Yep.
I might not be able to flesh this out.
Well, we hear this a lot. Go slow to go fast.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the how this is defined, and actually, Jenna, it might be a good idea to toss up that definition for paradox up there, just so anytime we can just continue to reference it back. But this idea of it appears to be a contradiction, and that's the key part of a paradox is at surface level. The first time you interact with it, right? The first time that you see these two things, these two concepts, these two situations, your first encounter with them, your first thought process, your first assumption, your first assessment of those two things is that they contradict each other. That is a key defining characteristic of a paradox. It may even seem absurd. However, the closer you look, the more you dig, the more you expand, you see that it actually does not contradict each other, but it actually gives you a deeper level of truth. And so when I think about going slow to go fast, it is this idea that when you're going slow, and let's literally take learning, for example, right? If you take the time it takes for you to learn every nuance of, I don't know, underwater basket weaving, and you spend the time, you take more time than someone may want you to. At the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of whatever you're learning this for, you will have saved a lot of time by having to go back and look at and go back and research and go back and reference and go back and do what it takes to pull up the knowledge because you took the time to let it soak inside of you and to learn it the way that you needed to learn it. Yeah. So when I think about a paradox, that phrase of going slow to go fast is to me a perfect example. What about you?
I just want to say, Lindsay, it looks like Lindsay, shout out to her. She was thinking of that one. And I'd love to have people joining us what's a paradox they think about, because I'm having kind of a hard time. I'm having kind of a hard time thinking of a paradox. And so, like, especially one that's as quick as you came up with, the go slow to go fast. One of the things I think about, a couple of things, like one is I I am very pro AI and the use of AI. Like, I use this every day in my work, and it actually is a collaborative partner, and I can produce a ton of high quality work and outputs, and it's very efficient, and I've been able to scale myself and the talent that I have in multiple ways. However, what is paradoxical for me is that I often want to hide that I used AI to do it, because if I'm transparent that AI helped me to do that, it makes, I feel like then that makes me less than as a human. Like the output maybe is less than. And I'm curious if that's a paradox, or if anyone else kind of thinks about that, because there's like almost this hidden, I don't want to let you know. I want to tweak it enough so that it looks more human or represents human than just being like, AI wrote this and that this is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree with that, and I would say that, number one, you're definitely not the only person out there. I have that same tension inside of myself as well. It's funny that you're saying that, because I do feel like there's a lot of similarities that core point I think relates to. I don't think that that idea of, I don't want to call it cheating, because it's not cheating, but the like the tension of feeling like you're cheating, feeling like you're getting away with something, is definitely not just a result of AI. I think it's heightened now because it's new. But yeah, there's definitely a paradox within that.
And Lindsay said, showing people you aren't perfect makes them trust you more. I think that that's a really strong paradox, especially when we think about your definition of something that is like something that you said that it's absurd. I don't think my example is absurd, that I'm trying to hide AI use at times. Or I don't know if it's hiding as much as it is like concerned about judgment. And so I don't know if that's a paradox or not.
Yeah. I really like what Lindsay said. One of the thoughts that I had in this concept, this idea of paradox, specifically with HI and AI, is what answering the question and asking everyone on this call, what are some of the, like, let's define what the paradox is that we're talking about specifically with human intelligence and artificial intelligence. What are these two things that seem like they contradict each other, seem like they clearly do not fit together? I mean, I can't tell you how many people in education that we're still talking to that are on one side of the fence. Yeah. No AI in our classroom, no AI in our business, whatever. I'm going to say business, classroom, and just the belief that they actually that they're incompatible. So can anybody speak to that idea, that concept, that frustration, that tension? What are we looking at?
Well, I think Christy kind of brought something up. It's between what's true and what we want to be true, and a little bit of cognitive dissonance. So I think I'm really connecting with that, because like we want to use AI to be effective and to be more efficient, but there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance maybe around what is that doing to me as a human? There might be like a little bit of fear, a little bit of identity. I think it goes, you said cheating, like it's not cheating, but yet shortcutting, or like, am I giving my full human potential because I'm using AI? Like, is that is there cognitive dissonance there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I don't know that I would be able to provide a solid answer. What I do know is that I don't feel like it is. I feel like there's a false narrative, a false binary out there. And I think when I think of the paradox of human intelligence, artificial intelligence, um, I would define it as a false narrative. We have this idea that using AI somehow negates or diminishes your human creativity or your ability. And don't get me wrong, there are situations where that is possible. But I think that making it an immediate correlation is 100% a false narrative and a false binary. And I think that a lot of what influences our internal voice and fear, like you said, comes from that place. Somewhere along the lines, we made it normal. We believe this idea that using AI somehow makes you less of fill in the blank for whatever you're using AI for. And I don't think that that's the case. In fact, I think that when we put artificial intelligence and human intelligence together, we're able to see something a little bit deeper. We're able to see that, hey, there is a version of human intelligence that I don't think we can ever truly unlock until we fully use AI properly. I think there are aspects of your creativity or our creativity or our learning. Like there are aspects and dynamics and characteristics, qualities of who we are as people that I don't think you will ever really fully be able to unlock until you're using AI. And a perfect example, my niece, I was watching my niece, she's 10 years old on this past weekend, and she does great in school. But just kind of, it is just very much a social media head. She's addicted to her cell phone, and spent the whole weekend really trying to get her to engage with different things. Took her to the park, and she was just very kind of zoned out.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, before you leave my house on Sunday, you're going to start a business, and I want you to. Here's my Chat GPT. And I started brainstorming with her what she wanted to do. She wanted to make a nail business. I don't know anything about fingernails, but I created like a 20-hour project to start a nail painting business for kids her age, and gave her like a gamified like mission, like checklist or task list, like earning points in order to start her business, from her mission to name and all those sort of things, logo. And when I tell you, she stayed up till like 2 a.m. one night, finishing or doing just the first section of it, and it blew my mind. I would have never gotten that out of her unless she had the ability to use like some sort of an AI component.
Well, okay, maybe there's probably truth to that. And at the same time, I think there's agency, there's empowerment, there's like freedom, like this. And it sounds like you created the conditions for her to feel like I can create a business. I mean, you said she's 10. Like who in her life has said to her, like, you can create a business? No, I can't, I'm only 10. Well, no, like, let me like stand behind you and believe that you can. And then let me help you, support you with the resources and the wherewithal and the knowledge. And that I think is the AI piece, where putting at someone's fingertips the resources. I think one of the things, it sparks for me this idea that the use of AI and the knowledge in AI will be the greatest equalizer among, in an equitable sense, among people who have access to and we've talked about this, as long as you have access to the internet, to the tools, which I understand there's barriers to that, but it will be the greatest equalizer for people who may not have access to traditional means of education. Because with access via internet and tools, you can figure out anything. You can build anything. I blow my mind every day with what I personally can vibe code. I have to, there's so many things now I have to tell you. One, okay, so I took a transcript of an idea, just a conversation where we were brainstorming what an output that we wanted to create and what we needed. And it was just a conversation, like a 30-minute conversation. Mm-hmm. I threw that conversation into Claude and was like, I need to make this platform. Here's what we talked about. And it created it from a conversation, no prompt, no design. And it's like usable. I was like, holy cow. That was today. Like, so think about if I put a little bit more ingenuity, a little bit more creativity. I mean, it's just amazing with very limited skills. I hate to put myself down, but without like a ton of skills, what one person can create. So it just makes me think the sky's the limit on what people can do.
Yeah.
And you know, that we had a banner up for a second, Jenna, maybe throw that back up, because I think this is a really important question. Is AI and human intelligence complementary or in competition? And what the story that you told and what I just shared, I think that it's complementary because it took my creative thinking, my vision, my knowing where I wanted to go in order to build that. Like if I didn't have all my human intelligence, I wouldn't have been able to use AI for anything, you know, for what I did, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me say this. Okay, and if you can leave that up there, I would love that. I'm going to push back on you just a tad bit. I feel like I'm pretty argumentative today. I don't know why. I think this is a perfect example of what of the whole point of this episode, which is the paradox, right? Let's go back to the definition. It is let me pull it up because I can't remember it off verbatim. A statement or situation that appears to be self-contradictory or absurd, but upon closer examination, it reveals a deeper truth. In my opinion, I think the answer to that question that was up there prior is yes, it's both and. I think that the paradox is actually holding both of these two things in tension and then seeing where the truth is in the middle. It's that AI, it is complementary, right? But it also can be in competition with human intelligence. And the truth in the middle is it's all about usage. It's all about intent, right? It's all about how you functionally utilize that AI, right? It is neither, like, it's not good, nor is it bad.
Yeah.
It is a thing that can be used for both of these options. And so I think this is a perfect example of that paradox. It's holding these two truths. Two of these things can be true, and the tension in the middle is where we find what is real.
Well, and you know, like Mark just said, that it would that humans leading and AI being its thought partner. And I think that, so what I think about is, I think you're absolutely right. And what the tension is in the middle. And to me, what it comes down to, sure, AI literacy and like how to use and how to prompt and all of that, whatever. I don't even think that's the solution. I think the bigger solution is what kind of environment, what conditions do we have for the use of human intelligence, human skills, and AI skills? So if we continue to operate in the way we've always done things, in a compliance-based, the teacher's the smartest one in the room, the manager tells you what tasks you need to do, if we don't change how we do business on a day-to-day basis in our workplace and in our education system, then that paradox will, like, the tension will be replacing, more easily replaced with compliance, with just quick outputs. Like, we won't get the human ingenuity, the human aspect won't come in. Like, I think AI will start to take over some of those uniquely human skills, because I am struggling to get my point out, but because the environment says, just tell me what the answer is. Just have me comply with what I'm supposed to do. Just give me my list of tasks and I will produce it. And if that's how we operate, AI can do that very, very effective and very, very efficient. So how are we changing the conditions to tap into human potential?
Yeah, the whole time you're talking, that last little piece, I'm seeing kind of a new tension, or you're describing a tension that I'm going to attempt to make a picture for. One part of the tension is we have a system that is designed, that is not designed for agency, for real creativity, for all the things that we've talked about for the last year of this podcast. The other part of the tension is we have created something that now allows for that environment to either do that same thing better or to completely change the environment as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
These two things are true. AI, artificial intelligence, has the ability to disrupt the system, or unfortunately, it has the ability to make the system worse.
Right, to almost like
because
perpetuate what we've done to a greater extent.
100%, because now it is so much easier for a student to take that AI bot and use it to do what the system wants them to do, which is not think,
right,
regurgitate, and that's it. And so it's this tension of it's this tension where we're in the middle of it. And I think, again, somewhere in the middle, I maybe someone on in the audience can kind of share a little bit more about that, but I don't even think I can articulate fully, what the truth is in between those two tensions.
Well, and Christy a little bit ago talked about teachers used to say no pencils in the classroom. They thought it would make students lazy. And that new tools are always scary. And I agree with that. And at the same time, what's more important, and I'm sure Christy would agree with this as well, is the change in what we were asking kids to do with the tool. And I don't think we're moving fast enough with I mean, we are not moving fast. Like, AI is moving so much faster than how we are reimagining what we need to be doing as in our classrooms, in our schools, and in our workplaces. And basically what I envision is that the AI will outpace us. That's the piece around reclaiming humanity that I feel so strongly about, and the movement is behind, is it's not about the pace of AI, but more about the pace of change for humans. We're getting a lot of comments. So let's see. Jody said that she thinks there's a difference between task and cleaning the to-do list and strategic work. And I wonder if, my guess is that she's making that connection to when to use AI versus that human intelligence. Mm-hmm. Mark is kind of echoing what we're saying about that. Even before AI, the conditions that we have weren't about optimizing human intelligence. And that really is the crux of the problem, because now AI is in our world. And so we don't have the conditions to optimize our human intelligence and our human skills. So my biggest fear is that they're going to continue to decline, and we're going to continue to find ways to optimize what our day-to-day work is with AI. And Lindsay says she already thinks it's happening, sadly.
Yeah, I could agree. You said something a little bit ago, Michelle, and I wanted to just kind of harp on it. And I can't remember your exact verbiage, but there is something, we're touching on something. I think we're floating around some important truths here. And I'm not quite sure if we've articulated it well. So maybe I'm just gonna kind of try to summarize or verbalize some of what we're talking about. This idea of paradox, two things that seem opposed at first meaning or at first glance, and then when you look deeper, it's not, they're actually complementary. I think one of the things I'm hearing from all the comments and from you, Michelle, and even from myself, just spitting out, is that there is an inherent nature. There is something deeply natural to first seeing opposition between artificial and human intelligence. I think at first glance, they don't work together. They don't fit together. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of fear that's created. There's a lot of misinformation that is created. But I think it's important for us to acknowledge that the very first time an individual probably hears artificial intelligence and human intelligence, the first assumption is going to be that it is opposing forces.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're dancing around a lot of ideas and concepts that sit in the middle that can either prove or disprove that they are opposing forces or not. I don't know.
Well, let me throw this out because, and I don't know if this is a paradox or not, but let's talk about friction for a minute. Okay. So AI's job is to create efficiencies and remove friction from our life. How do we learn best and grow is through struggle, friction, failure. So is that a paradox? Like, I don't even know how to frame it as a paradox, but so maybe you can help me with that. But like, what is that? Like, where does that land?
Yeah, so I would agree with that 100%. I would say that it's a paradox because there is a version of AI usage that removes the tension and the friction and all this sort of stuff. And then there's a version of using AI to help you through and help you process and help you categorize and help you define and learn and expose learning within the struggle, the tension, the frustration. Yeah. It's a paradox because when we look deeper, if we use AI properly, when you're going through something difficult or you don't know something, it actually has the opposite effect that you think it would. It would actually help you learn and help you develop and help you grow more if it's used properly.
Well, and I think, I mean, so yeah, if you use properly, right? But okay, so both Jody and Mark are kind of bringing up this leapfrogging or outpacing. And I think, I think consumer-based AI is all about reducing that friction and creating efficiency. I mean, you see it all over the place, like create this automation and have these agents do this and all of that. And I guess I hear you on if it's used properly, I can learn from that and I can grow. But then I go to what Mark said around we are designed to move so quickly and so that we don't even pause to take time for that learning or for that change. So it's almost like another paradox.
Yes.
Is, let's move really fast and be very efficient and get like a million things done, but not pause to really reflect and think about it. I mean, I personally recently told my boss that if I make a bunch of automations and a bunch of agents, then I can do more work. So I can reduce my work week down to 30 hours, but then I can take on more projects and continue to work, 60 hours a week because now I can do more versus, I don't know. I'm all over the place. So.
No. I'm tracking with you. It's so funny. I'm going to say this and I don't know if this is accurate. At the beginning of this podcast, you asked me, give an example of a paradox. I just off the top of my head named moving slow or going slow to move fast. What you just described to me is that in the inverse. What you just described is moving fast and creating all these optimizations so that you can go slow. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know if we just flipped into a whole nother, timeline, but there's something in this idea that it's like optimization versus meaning. Like at face value, we kind of see them as separate things because technology optimizes, right? And humans kind of search for and naturally lean towards meaning and significant. And it seems like those are two separate pursuits, right? It's like you can't, how can I say this? Optimization is all about efficiency. And I don't think that meaning necessarily gets birthed or gets uncovered from efficiency and optimization.
No, it doesn't. I mean,
if I can kind of, sorry, let me just bump this out. The most meaningful parts of life are not efficient at all. the things that are the most significant to 99% of the population are in no way, shape, or form efficient, effective, or optimized. Just to name, like, just off the top of my head, raising kids. What the freak? I have to get what the freak about raising kids is optimized or is efficient. Marriage, like there's like.
Hey, but can't you get your bot to optimize raising your kids and being loving in your marriage?
I mean, yeah, if you want to raise some serial killers, sure, I guess, but no, like art, like art is not. Granted, we do have bots that can produce, great photos and videos and stuff like that, but that's not necessarily artwork, right? Art has such a deeper meaning than just a graphic or a video. There's something significant that saturates the paint or the pixels. It's something behind the paint or the pixels, right? Friendship, like a religious faith and worship, like grief, like just take grief for example. Like you cannot optimize grief or raising kids. It's dirty, it's messy, it's supposed to be, and there's something about that I think is relevant.
Jody says she wishes she was live with us. So many good questions. Well, Jody, if you're game, we can bring you on the stage with us. So we can send you a link and you can join us for the remainder of the podcast. So let us know if you're up for that. Coming in live. We'd love to have you. So we'll see if she responds. Okay, Arvin, take a look at what Alice is saying.
I was just starting to read it and
so she says the premise that we learn best by struggle may be faulty, and too much struggle impacts the working memory. And I don't know, like, I'm curious about research behind that. I mean, I have my own personal impressions about that, but maybe Alice has like some research to share. But Arvin, what's your
drop your link, Alice. I want to see you in these interwebs, okay? So honestly, I think I disagree with you deeply, but I'm going to be a little bit cautious because we're talking about paradoxes, and paradoxes are things that seem absurd or seem contradictory at the front end. So I'm going to give you a chance to prove your case in the chats. If it's good enough, I might bring you on screen so we can have a verbal, powwow. No, I'm just kidding. But my first thought is I disagree because I think that there is something about struggle and tension and adversity that really causes information and experience to stick inside of your brain or inside of your psyche or whatever, in places that it wouldn't typically stick if there wasn't that tension and struggle. I can totally agree with you that too much struggle or certain types of struggle actually has the opposite effect. 100%. I'm a perfect example. I was, I'm gonna say this, in high school, middle school, poverty was a huge part of my upbringing. My parents didn't have enough, and so I had a struggle of going to school hungry. And you can't expect me to learn anything when that struggle is happening. Like it just doesn't work that way, right? There's needs that need to be met. But I will also say that because that I grew up in poverty, and because of the fact that I was in a gang and doing just a bunch of crazy stuff, I learned a lot from moments where I caused my own difficulty and adversity. I had to learn the hard way that, hey, if you talk a certain way to certain types of people, they may you might have to fist fight like that. And that's something you learn. You learn that if you walk a certain way, if you walk in certain places you're not supposed to go, there are consequences for that. And I'll tell you what, still to this day, there are certain things that will probably never come out of my mouth to another person because of the fact that they might knock my teeth out. I'm just going to be, blunt with you. And so I'll say, I agree with you on the latter end that too much adversity, struggle, or tension can be problematic for learning. But I do think that in my experience and the experience with a lot of the kids I mentor, I've seen adversity and struggle cause deeper levels of learning and retention.
So my question in all of that is, did someone help you metacognitively learn and reflect, or how did you learn? So you learned, if you say, was it just natural consequence? Like if I say this, I'm going to get punched in the face. So I'm not going to say that anymore. Like, was it just learning like that? Or did someone sit you down and say, now, Arvin,
Yeah.
what did you learn from that experience? And probably had better questions.
Yeah,
But
absolutely not.
about teachers in your life helping you work through stuff.
Yeah, I have had teachers are a huge part of my story, my turnaround story. But no, I would say in like the gist of these really, really deep core lessons, did not come from somebody sitting me down, but it came from me living through something or living through that tension, and really kind of having that lived experience. And an example that I can that might make more sense than something as simple as getting hit in the face is the idea of how to treat people. My intrinsic desire to treat people well, to love people well, to make people feel accepted, and to make people feel that they have a friend. A core ethos of Arvin is loving people extremely well. That did not come from somebody sitting me down and telling me this is how you do it. It came because I did not have that. My struggle of having to fight to exist or to, and I hate to get so like negative sometimes, but because I really do have a positive outlook on life, to be honest with you. But I look back at when I think about some of the reasons why I do what I do, whether it's work or it's mentorship or relations in church, like whatever it is, a core ethos is loving people well and being able to die and say, I did everything that I could to make this world a better place. And that specifically was birthed from like a decade and a half of not feeling that, of not feeling safe or loved or protected or having anybody to go to and talk to about stuff. Like that is what solidified and crystallized the importance of that value in my brain. And no one ever had to tell me that.
Yeah. Well, here's what I appreciate you sharing all of that so much, Arvin. And you do have such a loving spirit about yourself. And I think Dr. Martinez, like it's coming clear to me maybe what her intention was, because she says that's called experience. Yes. Like, and I kind of want to go back to the comment about too much struggle impacts working memory. And I think one of the things that is different from what you described, which was struggle through experiences, is like the zone of proximal development. Yeah. So we can ask a child that is an emerging reader that struggles with reading to be reading on level with their classmates, and that gap between what they're able to do and maybe what they should be developmentally doing could cause that type of struggle. It could cause impact on them, which I think is similar. It's adjacent to, but it's different than I'm going to like struggle and fail and persevere. And so it's interesting. Like, I think there is something about the amount of struggles, and we touched on this, and I think this will be a good unavoidable conversation, because like how much struggle, we just talked about this recently. I think it was like with Brian and Megan, like how much struggle is too much struggle for someone. Right. And so for kids, we talked about the zone of proximal development. For adults in the workplace, like how much struggle is too much struggle that I'm burnt out and I'm not effective, right? And so Alice says it's very important to create the conditions for learning. And I think that comes back to how do we create the conditions in the classroom and in our workplace so that humans can thrive and flourish. And I think that struggles behind that, but so is failure, so is psychological safety, so is context. So I want to dive into that in a future a little bit deeper with you, but I can't even believe we're end of we had no idea how this was going to go. And I was like, Arvin, if it really bombs, we'll just end early. And of course it didn't, because, well, I don't know. I guess we'll see what the reviews are, but I think it was a success. I mean, I could talk to you all day, Arvin. So we should, go ahead.
Yeah, we can close out, but before we do, I want to shout out to Alice. Alice, that your comments are exactly what this podcast is all about. So I want to make sure that I read the last couple ones. Another
Yeah.
thing she said was that's called experience. I think you meant to say, are we talking about deep learning? Question mark. Then the second thing you commented on was I suggest reading How Humans Learn by Joshua Eiler. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Definitely will check that book out. Thank you for the recommendation. And then she also said we want to create desirable difficulty. Could not agree with you more. I think that's actually the point that we agree, is that there is this idea of struggling being hindrance to learning. There's a point where that becomes true. There's also a point where struggling is essential to learning. And when I say deep learning, I think there's probably a deeper conversation on how we measure that. Mm-hmm. Right? I think there's a deeper conversation on, is learning being able to regurgitate it, or being able to articulate it, or is learning being able to demonstrate it? And for me, when I'm talking about my experiences in struggle or what have you, it's I cannot undo the commitment and the experience I had. Sorry, I can't undo the experience I had. So I also can't undo my commitment to loving people well at all. Like it is something that I've learned so deep down inside of me. And I don't think I ever would have got that from a class. Like, I don't think I ever would have got that from a person telling me. It's this idea of both of these things are true at the same time. Not saying it can't be done in a class, but for me, I went through enough to really, really make me love people and love humans, like regardless of what they have going on. So,
well, I think, Arvin, like what you just said is how I think about paradox, maybe more than the definition, is both can, and you said this, but both can be true at the same time. And that sometimes is super mind blowing and paradoxical, is how two things can exist. So I think our next conversation is all about struggle. Jody brought up a really great question. She said, is it possible that the struggle is different in the age of AI? And absolutely.
Yes.
I want to really come up with some examples of how that is true.
Jody's just trying to start a fire in this chat. I'm like, what's up, Jody.
Right. And then Dr. Michael Harvey comes in with the change in education is who you want to be. And then, that becomes struggle around that, not what you know or to understand, which is totally different when we talk about moving from a knowledge age to an intelligence age. It is about the struggle around who are you as a uniquely human. And Dr. Martinez, again, assessing for learning versus assessing of learning is super critical to talk about right now.
Yeah, I could not agree more. This is such a good conversation. Mm-hmm. We need to have this Dr. Alice on here. We need to have Jody on here. Maybe next time we'll pop you guys on early so we can continue to chat. Do we do an unavoidable truth in unavoidable series? And
it's the it's not the unavoidable series. It's the it is the unavoidable series.
It is. This is what I said.
Yes, we do unavoidable truth in the unavoidable series, but I haven't even heard the unavoidable music that tells me it's time for the unavoidable truth. So yeah, I guess what's a conclusion or a aha that you have after this conversation?
Oof. Honestly, Alice's comments really kind of made me brought balance to something that I feel so deeply because I know it, and I definitely tend to be on the pendulum side of things. I definitely tend to communicate very intensely and passionately about what I believe. But I think Alice's point about we do have to consider when struggling becomes not productive but unproductive.
Yeah.
That's a part of the paradox. That's the middle point, the sweet part of the paradox of let's say struggles is when we say productive struggles, we have to define that, and we have to understand that defining that doesn't work for every single person. I may be totally fine, right, with with failing a test 5 times and still be able to like that actually make me work harder. For some individuals, that might not be the case. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where that in the middle of that paradox lies.
Yeah. I I don't know. I mean, I think I'm leaving kind of thinking, continue to think about my own paradox of efficiency versus strategy versus like when is AI taking away from me as a human? When what, and I don't know if these are paradoxes as much as tensions I hold. So maybe they are, but like what like what am I losing as a human? What ideas or skills are maybe going to the wayside? And so what does that mean for us as humans and human intelligence, and what's it mean for creating conditions? So I don't know. I don't have a big like aha like tonight, as much as I have more questions and more unavoidables to be able to think about.
Yeah. That is really, really good. I love it. That's what we're all about here on Unscripted Intelligence. Thank you, Michelle and Arvin, for hopping in this conversation, and Alice and Jody and Michael and Mark, and I can't even read all the other people that were here. Christy,
Lindsay, and yeah, so it was a good group, good turnout. We so should we wrap up?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up. As you guys know, feel free to hop in and join us on all the following platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube. You can also go to TikTok to get some cool little clips at any point in time at Unscripted Intelligence. Thank you, Jenna. You are the bomb diggity. If you tuned in late, or if you just fast forwarded to the intro, go back and look at the intro. It's really freaking cool. We're on a roller coaster. It's AI'd out. I need to make that a part of my LinkedIn profile or something like that. You guys will be able to find links to sponsor and to partner with this podcast at the Human Intelligence website. So make sure to check that out, as well as our link tree. Michelle, do you want to talk about what is happening on episode 2 of this series, The Unavoidable?
Yes. So episode 2 will be on July 30th. So we've got a couple of weeks, then we'll be back together, and we'd love you all to join us. And I think the next topic is about struggle. And so unavoidable from the last series and unavoidable from tonight. And so we'll be talking live again and looking for people to just pop in and join us and add to the live conversation as we go. So thanks everyone for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Yep. See you guys.